want to go to the cottage, eh? I just want to play golf. Shopping's nothing. Oh, Ratty, we had mail today?
The letter carrier left our mail on the drawbridge.
Wonderful. Let's see what our fans have to say.
These are all
What?
These are all from the Wolfstone Bank asking when you're going to pay back your loan.
Ooh, better get those to the exchequer. Perhaps what else?
We have a magazine subscription renewal.
Ooh, which one?
Wash your hands hourly.
That one's very important. Renew it at once. Wash your hands.
It's recommended that you recite something in order to be sure that you've washed your hands long enough for complete coverage. Yeah, okay. Oh, I know. Here is the lineage of the chivalry of Eldermere. Finbar, Hugo, Mordain, Roac, Edward, Kennedy, Gan, Tiberius. Who comes after Tiberius? Britannicus and Richard.
That's the way to do it. You have to go now.
I lend my hands and my heart. I lend my hands and my heart. And this solemn oath. As companions of your Order of the Pelican. As companions of our Order of the Pelican.
I am the Garwolf. Aru. Hello, listeners, and welcome to SCAB Radio. Brought to you by Yellow Bile Soda, the biliest cola you can find. Brewed in the bowels of Castle Lupinestein, Yellow Bile Soda is available at a Squalmart near you. Now, listeners, do not go flying off the handle. We will get back to music in a few seconds. First, though, I would like to say greetings and salutations to the staff at Camp Night Air, who are stuck on site due to quarantine. I'm told that Night Air, Wolfenstone's longest-running all-season camp, will be closed for the foreseeable future. I spent many a summer there as a pup. I wish the staff well, and hope the lake monster does not eat them. Apologies, listeners. I appear to have acquired fleas. I really must schedule a virtual appointment with Dr. Doctore. Oh, looks like I have received an electronic mail. It appears to be from our just and noble queen. She says she'd like to hear Pastime with Good Company, written, as you know, by Henry VIII, around 1513. But first, as always, at the sound of the sackbut, we will check the time, and it is 4 o'clock. And now, here is the song requested by the Queen. Remember, if it is not Baroque, do not fix it. Boom, ticky, ticky, boom, boom.
Well, aren't those the oddest creatures I've ever seen?
How do you do, lords and ladies, and welcome to this strange place. A strange place indeed, but one in which the laws of science still apply. I will remind you of our lesson from last time where we explored the principle where a large volume of air compressed and forced through a narrowing opening will increase in velocity. And we took that principle and we considered the bellows, where with a large volume of air being compressed forces that air down the tube, increasing the velocity at the working end. And while this is very helpful in providing a continuous stream of air to our fire, thus increasing the temperature of that fire, it can have a detrimental effect on any fine work for which we are using that fire. Consider as an example any fine powder, enamels for example, which is a fine glass powder applied to a metallic surface and heated up sufficiently to melt the glass, which then fuses to that metallic surface. This leaves us with a conundrum. How do we raise the temperature of the fire sufficiently to melt the glass without the powders blowing away in the process? And what do we do when we have an insurmountable question? We take our book and we consult our good friend and mentor, and we ask ourselves, what would Theophilus do? And Theophilus tells us in chapter 54 that we take this, our working pan, and we cover it with another piece of iron, which should be concave, like a small bowl, and should be finely perforated all over with punched holes that are smooth and wide on the inside, while on the outside they are narrower and jagged, and serve to keep off any ashes that happen to fall upon it. This cover should also have a small ring in the middle, on the top, by means of which it might be lifted on and lifted off. And having taken our pan and its cover and placed it in our fire, and surrounded it in coals, and bringing forth the bellows, we blow vigorously on every side until you see between the coals that the holes in the cover are completely red hot inside. And thus we know by observing through the holes that the glass has raised itself to a temperature sufficiently to have melted and created our enamels. Now, Theophilus is very specific that the jagged side should be on the outside. And while, yes, it is indeed true that that will keep the ashes off, there is another principle at play here. I would like you to consider for a moment a sheet of metal, like so. If we were to take a punch and drive it through that metal, as Theophilus tells us to, that metal will deform into a conical shape like so. And if the air is on the smooth side, counter to what Theophilus tells us, if that air is on the smooth side and their bellows forces it down like so, what happens when a large volume of air is forced down through a narrow hole? The velocity increases, which is highly detrimental to the effect we wish to have. Instead, as Theophilus tells us, we put the jagged side on the outside and the air comes up. It will deflect to one side or the other, thus preserving our work inside. Consider for a moment the tinsmith who makes these beautiful lantern covers, and you will note on those covers that the jagged side is on the outside, just as Theophilus tells us, and that is not, as you may think, to stop the grabby hands of small children. Instead, it is to prevent drafts from blowing out our candles. And thus we have our pan and its cover with the jagged side on the outside and a small handle, just as Theophilus recommends. And we can place that in our fire, and we can heat that up, and we can create our enamels. But that is an inquiry for another time. I thank you for watching.
Jeez, what are you doing inside? You know Mr. Fenris doesn't like animals indoors.
Have you seen the size of those things?
Oh, jeez, Mr. Fenris, I don't want to keep the murder hornets.
Being an executioner is tiring and thirsty work. Time for a De-Cappuccino.
Thus swear I. Thus swear I. Your name here.
And so we move on to the next device to be considered. We have a submission from somebody called Corona the Usurper. And this is the device. The blazon submitted is Purpure, a coronavirus rampant crowned ore. here is our decision. As this would be the defining instance of this heraldic charge, we have decided that based on its similarity to the sun in its splendor, this charge should not be blazoned as a coronavirus rampant, but as a coronavirus in its virulence. There will be no point of difference given between it and the sun in its splendor. We are, however, returning this device for presumption because the submitter has not documented the right to use a coronet in their arms. The fact that the crown is a cant on the submitter's given name of corona is not sufficient for registration. We have also ruled that it is offensive to a large segment of the population and therefore should be killed with bleach.
What day is it?
Once I ate a sundial. It was very time-consuming.
This crown tourney format is nuts! Time for quarantine bye-bye. Time for quarantine bye-bye. Really, I swear. Kiss me and I'll turn into a prince.
Hey, you guys, what part of social distancing don't you understand?
Our butts are made out of rubber. Our tails are made out of springs.
Oh no, they brought their battering ram.
Your Privy Council at work. I don't care what you smell. Get in there.
Oh, what is that?
It's a message. Here, read this.
My liege, it's from the crows on the western border. All's quiet. Little lonely out here. Please send cake.
The manor's fires are going out. It's time for sleep, thou layabout. When next we meet in Wolfenstone, you'll be home.
So if you could just move that throne, like the engine that way, and sweep up the floor. This place is a mess.
Ratty's this, Ratty's that. Wind Crown tournament, they said, Ratty. You get to be in charge, they said.
Oh, and turn off the lights when you're done, please.
Yes, my queen.